Today is again painful as an investor in NIO, and as I've explained in my first video today, you might want to check that one out. I do think that this is largely a technical movement there. I might be wrong about this, but this is how I take it. I won't overinterpret it. I don't see any NIO-specific news. And I've seen a pattern in many stocks that they have been all seeking back to previous support levels. And so you may get a discrepancy between different stocks on how much of a drawdown that is. But even on a bad day like this, I want to talk about some, let's say, more negative rumors about NIO. And let me clarify this. This is not to scare anyone out there. And I'm also not one of those guys setting lower price targets for NIO and calling, $9 or something like that. But certainly I want to address and talk about some topics that are out there and are seen critical about NIO. So let's dive in there. And basically there are three big topics why you could argue that NIO is not really well managed and they are kind of screwing things up. One is that there's an employee recently caught mining Ethereum on a NIO computer. Another one is about the recent departure of one of the heads of NIO Autonomous Driving's division. And last but not least, obviously the whole situation around managing the chip shortage and supply chain crisis with NIO. And especially this topic here about that there has been an employee caught mining Ethereum on NIO employee hardware computers has been, I've seen some really bad comments around this in the Chinese internet, so Weibo for example, and people are questioning whether NIO is really in control of their employees if they cannot manage something like this. But first of all, despite knowing that most of the crypto is kind of illegal and mining activity is illegal in China, I don't see this really as a big issue. And on maybe more of a Western standpoint, I think it's cool to see that some NIO employees are actually more on the edgy side of things and tech geeks and mining crypto like Ethereum. And frankly, there's lots of that happening in China. Just because the Western media is reporting like that every crypto is forbidden in China, that doesn't mean that there is no more of such activity. But coming back to, is NIO really able to control behavior like this? Yes, they are. If they would act really like a corporate company and are really tight on overseeing employees. But I do think in a startup like NIO, there is much less of such oversight, and I would say that this is actually something that is rather an advantage of such a company, because they can act quicker, they are more innovative, they have more freedom, more creativity, and such kind of things are actually setting NIO apart from some of the more stringent legacy auto car makers, I would say. And well, one could argue that yes, there might be a management issue with controlling people, and certainly one could condemn that what is happening here is illegal in terms of mining Ethereum. But still, I don't really see this as a confirmation of a structural issue. Similarly, with the recent news on which I made a video before on the changes in the autonomous driving departments of NIO. Yes, this causes some, let's say, upsteer, maybe even some disruption in NIO's business processes, because they now have maybe to reshuffle more than 1,000 people under the control now of Ren Xiaoqing instead of this departure. But also in the article I've quoted, I have outlined how this was the plan from the very beginning, with Li Bin putting in place two people that are actually competing for one position, and now we have a winner. And obviously there are structural changes to this, but oftentimes in the Chinese corporate culture, you have much more, let's say, agility, flexibility, and quick changes that can, from an outsider's perspective, or especially if you're used to work at a more established company, can be quite disturbing, and maybe it's not everybody's business. But I think that's something very common in startups, to be honest. And being invested in Tesla also. I've seen many people come and go and many disruptions to Tesla as well. It never has stopped them. And just on a side mark, I just posted this in a Patreon community. It's interesting to see actually also that Andrew Karpathy, who's the director of AI and autopilot vision at Tesla, is currently on a 4-month sabbatical. Meanwhile, Ren Singh, who's kind of his counterpart, right, at NIO, he is still now taking over much more responsibility at this point, and certainly far away from doing a sabbatical, which is maybe the question if this even exists in a Chinese work culture, which is rather defined by Jiu Liu, which is this 9 to 9, working from 9 in the morning to 9 in the afternoon, 6 days a week. So much different work culture. Not saying whether or not this is better or worse. And last but not least, the issue of how Li Bin and his management team has been coping with the supply chain issues. And yes, I have outlined that one before, that this wasn't managed very well, or at least not as good as other car companies have managed to do so, particularly Tesla, but also XPeng. But I would say lots of these issues, even also with this team around the autonomous driving division and so on, is actually coming from the fact that NIO has been at the verge of bankruptcy, and they really have a big gap to fill of time where they haven't been able to invest in the team, invest in a new platform for the cars, invest in new technology, and that now needs to be made up at some point in time. And I think lots of this legacy with those team structures, with those changes, and also with the older NT 1.0 hardware is causing those issues, and cannot be necessarily pointed towards Li Bin and the management team as that they have messed those things up particularly. Could they have done better? Yes, possibly they could have done better, but right now I'm still not reading anything into the management team here, which makes me kind of question my thesis. Quite on the contrary, NIO has been executing quite well on everything they set in terms of timelines, models that they bring out, and frankly even delivery numbers and the financials so far. That could of course change also in the future. We now have again new lockdowns, new supply chain issues. Hope they can really manage around this time, and maybe a little bit better. And maybe they mess it up, and then we could re-argue and revisit this argument that maybe NIO's management is at fault and not doing a good job. Let me know what you think about this matter in the comments. Sorry for bad news on a bad day, but that's the topic that I have researched so far. So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Make sure to leave a comment and share this video, and then see you in the next one.